We always think of North Africa as a desert, though there's so much evidence to the contrary that proves that not only was it not a desert, but it was connected to the rest of Africa, and that animals that were in North Africa migrated further south, deep into Africa, following the water and following the nature. This too would have happened for the people living in North Africa, given that it happened in Egypt and in Nubia. Following the water and following the greenery, they find their ways deep in southern Sudan and in Sudan. The rock art clearly shows things that are common in sub Saharan Africa. But as this is not sub Saharan Africa, these should be called Saharan African ancient relics. And as you can see with these paintings, that some of them depict African hair, African bodies, these spots that resemble tattoos or scarring. This depiction of a giraffe in Tassel Najir in Algeria speaks volumes, and it's very surprising to see a giraffe in this area given this map that shows where giraffe are found today. They're not exactly the most abundantly spread animal, and for them to make a home in North Africa to the level where people could depict them almost perfectly tells you how safe they felt in this region. But of course, since the planet shifts and the seasonal, at least we could call it cosmically seasonal, shift happens, the greening of the Sahara disappears, and so do the wild animals. From 7000 BC, we see something very strange depictions of people swimming. These depictions in the cave have now been called the Cave of Swimmers. And this is more than conclusive evidence that there must have been a lot of water, as we don't really see that many depictions of people swimming in history, period. So to find it here in a desert is very interesting, especially beautifully depicted. We even see animals drinking from the river. Interestingly, all these depictions are depicted as dark skin, and you can see that the children are depicted slightly lighter, and they too have these dots and these stripes on their arm, and also the dots that depict their hair, showing that their hair is very curly. This is no coincidence. This is clearly a depiction of real skin color, showing that their skin darkened with age. There is one image I know about that depicts a white person sitting in the middle around blacker people. And I have to say that this is probably a spiritual thing, given that he's sitting right in the middle and he looks very comfortable with the rest of the tribe. Notice how he doesn't look foreign or doesn't feel foreign to the rest of the tribe. We see more depictions of animals, and interestingly, we see horses and people riding chariots that almost resemble the ones from Egypt, the ones which are two wheels and a single chariot holder. Interestingly, it looks like there's a woman driving the chariot. Given this long introduction, it's probably time we have to go into the similarities between Africa and North Africa. And of course, we can start with these ancient depictions that show similarities between Africa and North Africa. Another similarity between these areas and the rest of Africa is the Afro Asiatic languages. So, in other words, the Berber languages, whether it's Tamashek, Gabel, or any other language from North Africa, ancient Egyptian, they are part of the Afro Asiatic group, meaning that they originate in Africa and spread throughout the African continent, mainly towards East Africa, North Africa, West Africa. That entire region that we know was not Khoisan has Afro-Asiatic. And with the spread of Afro-Asiatic speakers, it eventually made its way throughout the entire continent. But it's very interesting that it spread throughout the entire continent. Its similarities with Bantu languages is a debated topic. And in fact, I was going to watch a debate yesterday that was supposed to happen between a two scholars. That was Bantu versus Sumerian, if there's any similarities. But at the last minute, the one of the debaters pulled out. But even though this is a frontier thing, I still have to point it out because the similarities to me seem so there. They seem so obvious. And anyone that I've pointed it out to who speaks some of Bantu languages, their jaw drops.
Takbaylis, Tamashek,
يون
Ian,
سين
Shin,
كراف
Karat,
كوز
Koz,
سموس
Smos,
صيس
Sadis,
صا
Sa,
طام
Atam,
تزا
Taza,
مراو
Maraw,
سيدي ربي يحمل يمدننا الدنيا مرة أرميد يفكا ميسا وحيد إوكن كرا نوين راه من النيس وريت متساثرة معنا أذي يسعود درت دايم
فلاس مسين غجاي الدنيا ترها تارق فاليكفار رسوانيا يرسرس ومن اندق وريمت.
Like previous videos, I emphasize the art styles that are repetitive from one to the other. For example, the music, the dance, the visual art, and the storytelling.